Quinn with time. Uncorks it. Ashton Hawkins shakes and scores.
This is the Sikkim 365 radio postgame show.
Second and long scenario. Pete drops back. Doesn't have much time. Garmin Randolph makes quick work of him.
Now here's David Smoke.
Not quite David Smoke. This is Matt Wilson filling in on the Sikkim 365 radio post-game show. You can follow me at Matt is Bear. This episode brought to you in part by osoletter.com, but really excited to be filling in here for Smoke on the Sikkim 365 radio post-game show. Baylor fans, conflicted probably right now. We do want to hear from you. If you can get that tweet out, we will get some people in here. I want to hear from the fans live on Twitter, I believe, live on YouTube. Tough way to start that game, maybe a tougher way to end it. Baylor falls to Utah 23-12. That does not tell really any part of the story. Baylor comes out pretty anemic on offense. A number of turnovers. Cam Rising injured. Baylor tries to make a comeback and falls short. Truly a frustrating experience for the fan base, likely for multiple reasons, and we'll get into that here in just a sec. But hard to stomach the offensive side of that ball. Probably most of the attention will be paid to that. Unfortunately, will likely overshadow a truly fantastic performance from this Baylor defense, and we will certainly be diving into that as well. Again, if you are watching, please send me a tweet at MattIsBear. Send me a DM. Throw a comment into the chat as well, and we'll get started here. DeQuan Finn's first pseudo-conference appearance. Jake Spavital's first pseudo-conference experience here in the Big 12. Not the most encouraging performance, I guess you could say. Tough start to the game. Let's run through the first drives for this Baylor offense here. Punt, fumble, punt, and then a field goal attempt. Not to mention the turnover on downs, the block kick, and then you do end the half on a field goal. So in total, you go across the game 4 for 16 on third down, and it's not good enough. Now, towards the end of the game, this Baylor offense starts to look more like what we expected. But starting off the first quarter with negative 10 yards and only grabbing 58 yards in the second quarter is probably not going to get it done. Probably not going to get it done. I'll be completely honest. This team looked a little rattled on both sides of the ball, to be honest. The first couple of possessions, this team looked rattled, looked nervous. Maybe not rattled, but nervous. It appeared that this team was pressing. This team really wanted to do everything right, was almost afraid of making mistakes. And it showed. This Utah team is senior, experienced, disciplined, and that was the difference in the first half, for sure. We can't go too much farther without acknowledging that Cam Rising was injured in the second quarter of this game. Held onto the ball, tried to make a throwaway right before stepping out. Was hit inbounds, pushed out of bounds into the Baylor sideline, injured his hand. There's still no word, I don't think, on if that's a severe hand injury, but it was enough for Utah to pull him and ride out the game. I do want to say, as somebody who went back and rewatched that play multiple times, I didn't see any kind of dirty play there. I didn't see any extension of the arm. I didn't see any late push, as some on the Fox crew seemed to think there was. It didn't look great, but it didn't seem like a dirty play at all. Then Zach Wilson's younger brother, Isaac Wilson, replaces Rising there, and Utah condensed the playbook quite a bit, kept it almost exclusively on the ground, and Baylor was able to do what they did in terms of the comeback. As frustrated as Baylor fans are going to be with this offensive performance, you have to turn around and be equally as impressed with the defensive performance. This Baylor defense allowed 0 offensive points after the field goal to end the first quarter. 0 offensive touchdowns after the 2-yard or 3-yard drive that was halfway through the first quarter. 0 offensive touchdowns the rest of the game. And the last 7 drives that Utah had, only 2 field goal attempts were able to be attempted there. So truly an impressive defensive performance. They did what they needed to do when Cam Rising went out. But even when he was in the game, Cam was under duress. The pressure was there. The linebackers were flying to the ball, much better than they were the first 2 drives. Was truly impressed. Truly impressed. Taking a look here at the chat. I do read chat. So if you are out there, drop a question. Aaron says, my biggest question is, why is there a conference game the second week of the season? Who makes these ridiculous decisions? Well, Aaron, this wasn't a conference game. This was a game that was scheduled prior to Utah joining the Big 12. So while Utah is a conference opponent, this was not a conference game. This does not count towards Baylor or Utah's conference record. This is a non-conference game. Yep. So, there's a couple different places we can start, really starting to dive into this. But you know what? Let's take a break. Let's dive into that offense first after this break, and we'll take a few calls.
Baylor fans, the ultimate game weekend experience awaits you at the Baylor Club. Kick off your weekend with our Friday Night Live pep rally. With live entertainment and special appearances from the Baylor Spirit Squad, it's the perfect way to start your game weekend with a roar. On Saturdays, don't miss our Knox Hall tailgate. Enjoy delicious food, ice-cold drinks, and great company as you gear up for the big game. And after the weekend's excitement, wrap it all up with our famous Bear brunches on Sundays. Don't wait. Make your game weekends legendary with the Baylor Club membership today.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Make Camp Fimfo the destination for your next visit to Waco. Whether you're catching a football game, exploring the silos, or just looking to get away, Camp Fimfo Waco is conveniently located 6 miles from downtown Baylor University. Voted the #1 best vacation rental in Waco for the last 2 years, this camping resort features cabins and RV sites and is brimming with premium amenities like on-site dining, sports courts, a swimming pool, and more. Start making unforgettable memories and book your stay at Camp Fimfo Waco.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense in investing, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
This is the Sikkim 365 postgame show. Now here's David Smoke.
Welcome back to the Sikkim 365 postgame show. The Baylor Bears travel to Salt Lake City and put up a fight, but fall 23-12. Time to talk offense. It's not going to be the most fun conversation I've ever had about the Baylor football team. The keys to this game were obviously going to be centered around the turnover battle, for sure. But also the only true weak point, maybe the only true question about this Utah defense, which is absolutely solid, was going to be the secondary. If Baylor was going to have offensive success this game, they had to challenge that young and injured secondary. 9 for 21 for 115 yards, probably not going to get it done in most circles. DeQuan Finn, talented player, obviously. Confident player, obviously. Poised player from everything that we saw in tape. From his time at Toledo. Looked a little rattled. It looked like Utah was a bit much for DeQuan Finn. And frankly, I can't blame him. I'm sitting here in a chair. I can't blame him. The issue with needing to challenge a secondary, a young, injured secondary, is that you do need to block in order to do so. It looked like there might have been multiple times, maybe especially on the strip sack fumble, where Baylor was trying to challenge downfield a bit. There was a DPI that was drawn when Baylor tried to challenge downfield. But truthfully, it did not appear that the offensive line was ready for all of the different looks that they were going to give them. So a couple of different plays. The 3rd and 10 on the first drive in particular. Baylor goes 5 wide, 4 receivers to the right. Utah brings 6, and the hot read was absolutely there, and Finn just felt that pressure a lot more than I think many were comfortable with seeing him feel it. The throw to that hot read off to the right was off, and Baylor has to punt. There were multiple plays like that, but that first drive, that 3rd and 10, that stuck out to me. The second drive, obviously, you have a player in motion right to left. They are assigned with blocking the back end, and I don't know if the ball was just snapped early, if Finn just didn't give it the extra half beat or a little extra time for that player to get over there. Had no chance at making the block. Free rusher creates the fumble. Details like that against a veteran team like Utah, details like that's what makes the difference and what ultimately made the difference in this game. Because I said before the break, the defense did their job. I'm fully confident of that. The defense absolutely did their job. Most of the points that they gave up were because of short fields. Only one true Utah drive produced points. You have to take the Rising injury into consideration, absolutely. But the defense did their job. Even when the quarterback run game tried to get involved there, it didn't seem to work out with the exception of a couple in the second half. The first half offensive performance just probably wasn't going to get it done. We knew that the run game probably wasn't going to have a ton of success today, just because of how stout that Utah defensive line is. It was a situation where Richard Reese, maybe didn't look as comfortable. Had some effective plays. Dawson Pendergrass really, though, stood out offensively. One large run in the second half, but other than that, even in the rushes that he had that were only 2, maybe 3 yards, looked to be the most physical running back there. It just seemed that if there was a 7-yard play, we just couldn't amass multiple plays in a row to move the ball down the field at all, especially in that first quarter. Second quarter, a little bit better. Third quarter, a little bit better than that. And in the fourth quarter, started to see some progress there. But by that point, Utah was able to strangle the clock and get out of there with a win. Net total yards for Baylor today, 223. 2.7 yards per carry, probably not going to get it done. It's the 42 yards lost that ends up just being a problem. It just ends up being a problem. 43% completion rate. When the ball was completed, it looked great. It looked great, but the efficiency just was not there. 12 total first downs, 6 off the rush, 4 from the pass. 61 total plays, 3.7 per play. Just wasn't good enough. And, you can attribute that to a lot of things. I thought Finn got a lot more comfortable as the game went along, as I mentioned, but the offensive line got more comfortable as well. The running game looked a little bit better, just not as consistent as needed to be. Let's check the chat here. A good passer, Matthew says, a good passer that runs is a threat. A bad passer that can run is no threat. That's what we saw today. I actually don't think that's what we saw today. I do believe DeQuan Finn is a good passer. Is he a little erratic at times? Sure. But that's the package that you sign up for. He is an immense weapon with his feet, but he is also a good quarterback. I think having your first exposure to Power 4 football be this Utah defense, that's a tough ask. It's a tough ask. There was a little bit of tentative nature there, but I don't feel like creating my entire opinion of DeQuan Finn based on one game versus the toughest defense he'll face all season. So it is what it is. I know that Finn, pulled Aranda aside at the end of the game against Tarleton and said, I can play a lot better than that. And I believe him. I agree. There looked to be a couple of miscommunications with receivers, and that's where you have to realize that this is a brand new offense for all of these players. All of these players. Brand new. And this is the first time that they faced equal or better competition that wasn't wearing a Baylor jersey on the other side of them. So that is what it is. Taking a look at some of the advanced numbers for Baylor on offense. The short passing, 6 for 11. So passes under 5 yards, 6 for 11. A lot of what Baylor tried to do was short. And kind of to be expected, right? Get the ball out on the perimeter, let your playmakers make a play. And we saw that absolutely work with the Josh Cameron 40-plus yard touchdown. When it works really, really well with the athletes you have out there. The issue is the deep passing. Passes longer than 15 yards, 1 for 6. Now, sometimes a 1 for 6 against a defense where you don't need those plays to stretch the defense maybe doesn't kill you. Here, we needed those. That was something we knew going in. Sorry, Matt, but we have 2 games of Finn passing and it isn't good. I disagree. I thought Finn did some good things today. We need to see it get better. I won't disagree with you there. But let's create a referendum after we see 4 games against Power 4 competition. I'm not ready to make a judgment call on this yet. Not at all. Not at all. I do want to see significant improvement against Air Force. I do. It just needs to happen. So we'll see if they can get it done. All right. Let's see here. No callers at the moment. If you do want to hop in and share your thoughts, we do want to hear you. All right. Baylor often tried, I think, to go back to the run on first downs a little bit too often, a little bit predictable there for my liking. Set up quite a few third and longs, third and medium, and the average third down distance to go 6.5. Not where you want to be. Especially when you're only converting 25% of those. I said earlier, 4 for 16 on third downs, not sustainable. A lot of those, I was pleasantly surprised. Those fourth downs and later in the game were converted. But you can't put yourself in that situation over and over and over again. As I said, 10 yards in the first quarter, 48 in the first half. Not going to do it. I'm sure this play calling will get dialed in a little bit, but there were some questions I would have about some of the specific play calls. Overall, in the third and fourth quarter, we saw it open up a little bit. We saw the execution get better. It's hard at this point, in my opinion, to truly understand what is execution versus what is scheme because so much is happening. I'd have to go back and break down the tape, but the other issue was the drives later in the second half that resulted in field goals instead of touchdowns. A team that is expecting to go in to Utah and win this game, no matter how the first half went, right? If you're a mature team, which I believe this Baylor team is on its way to being, you come back, you fight back, you're in a position to tie or take the lead with a couple of drives that go for 6, and whether it be, a false start on the 4th down. Now, the other piece of this is DeQuan Finn injured at one point, looking like his right wrist. Not a fantastic development. You bring Sawyer Robertson out there. Spavital obviously has confidence in him and his ability to go convert immediately on a 4th and 2, I believe it was. And then a false start right off the rip. And on the 4th down, taking you from 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 out to 4th and 4, 4th and 5. Walker, if we could get the link sent out so people could call in. We have a couple people, looks like, trying to call in. If we could get that link out. I know it is being shared on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, I know there's a space out there that you can join. Would love to talk to you. But, that offense was kind of forced into, by game situation, taking it as an aggressive path as they did later on in the game. And I'm glad, frankly. But we need to see that aggression earlier on, in my opinion. All right. Let's get that link out, Walker, and then we'll take our break and come back and see if we can get some people on the line here. There we go. Thanks for that link. Let's go ahead and hop into that break, and we'll be right back.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved, learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Score big savings at the Kickoff to Savings event at Richard Carr Buick. A first-year All-American and a 2024 Car and Driver Magazine Editor's Choice. The all-new Buick Envista starts at only $23,990. Or make the winning drive in a 2024 Buick Encore GX SUV and save $4,000 for non-GM car owners. Qualified buyers get 0.9% financing and no payments for 90 days. Score your deal at the Kickoff to Savings event going on now at Richard Carr Buick.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Make Camp Info the destination for your next visit to Waco. Whether you're catching a football game, exploring the silos, or just looking to get away, Camp Info Waco is conveniently located 6 miles from downtown and Baylor University. Voted a #1 best vacation rental in Waco for the last 2 years, this camping resort features cabins and RV sites and is brimming with premium amenities like on-site dining, sports courts, a swimming pool, and more. Start making unforgettable memories and book your stay at Camp Info Waco.
Get ready, Baylor fans. The ultimate game weekend experience awaits you at the Baylor Club. Kick off your weekend with our Friday Night Live pep rally. With live entertainment and special appearances from the Baylor Spirit Squad, it's the perfect way to start your game weekend with a roar. On Saturdays, don't miss our Knox Hall tailgate. Enjoy delicious food, ice-cold drinks, and great company as you gear up for the big game. And after the weekend's excitement, wrap it all up with our famous Bear brunches on Sundays. Don't wait. Make your game weekends legendary with the Baylor Club membership today.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
This is the Sikkim 365 postgame show. Now here's David Smoke.
Welcome back to the Sikkim 365 postgame show, covering the Baylor loss in Salt Lake City, Utah 23, Baylor 12. A game in which we saw both starting quarterbacks injured. A game in which we saw Baylor offensively not really find their footing until the third quarter or so. And there just wasn't enough time for Baylor to complete that comeback. I do believe we have Joe Goodman on the line from the Bear Den podcast. Nope. Who do we have here? Let's go ahead and take a call from somebody here. Who do we have?
Joe Frazier.
Joe Frazier. Nice to hear from you, Joe. Thanks for calling in. What do you got for us?
Well, first of all, not convinced on Mr. Mike Fenn himself yet. All the hype in the offseason, all the accolades supposedly that he brought with him from previous conference, being such a great quarterback. On that level, he may have been a fantastic quarterback, but seems like
let's be clear. I mean, he didn't allegedly bring those accolades. He did bring those accolades, but I know what you're saying. Yes, at that level, he was a great quarterback. Yeah,
that's a. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. He earned that. He earned it. I mean, he was good at what he did at that level, but this is obviously a different level.
Sure, absolutely.
Than what he's used to. But I mean, and two, yes, offensive line, they need a little help, and that's been our kryptonite. I mean, it's just there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's always been an issue at Baylor for the last probably 3 or 4 years. Is the O-line is struggles, and so it's like here you go.
To emphasize your point, but sorry to interrupt, but to emphasize your point, not only is this a different level from the MAC, but this is a different level from pretty much any other Big 12 defense that Baylor will see this season. This particular data point, this game, right? I agree with you in that regard.
And it just seems that he was rattled. Like he's not. It's like a 3-second. I'm in the pocket. Okay, I gotta go somewhere. It's like he didn't look poised at all. And I really am curious to see how Sawyer does, because he's more of a pocket passer. He's more of that, hey, I'm gonna sling this ball, and he's a little more accurate when he throws it. I get it. Daquan Finn's a great runner, and he's very elusive when he gets out of the pocket. But it seems like his intangibles don't quite fit this style of offense.
Appreciate the call, Joe. I'm not going to sit here and say that you're wrong by any means. We need to see it get better. For sure. Fans want to see it get better. I'm sure Finn wants to see it get better, and I know the coaches do. Two data points. One against a team that you can't really measure against accurately, and then one being the total other end of that spectrum, the
100%.
toughest challenge you'll see. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you for sure about that. I think we're all on the same page that the first half today, for sure, was not good enough. I saw some things in the second half.
I love the second half
that I liked. He kept the ball absolutely when appropriate on some of those zone reads and was effective with those. He made some really good throws in the second half, especially in those last couple of drives. The potential is absolutely there. I'm not willing to write off the potential at all. But I'm also not willing to just let this fester, if it's festering, right, with Robertson, who is a known quantity pretty much at this point, but with a good option waiting behind him. I'm not Dave Aranda. I'm not Jake Spavital. I don't know half of what they know. I trust their judgment on this. But it needs to get better one way or the other. I agree.
No,
Thanks, Joe.
You're not wrong, bud.
Appreciate the call. Anybody else on the line for us, Walker? All right, Matt from DC. Welcome in. Thanks for the call.
Appreciate it. How's it going?
It's going. I am an optimistic individual to a fault at times, so I am, against my better judgment, quite excited about what I saw from the defense, which we'll get into here just in a second. But tell me what you got for me.
Well, yeah, I like being optimistic too. Unfortunately, I always say I hope I was wrong going into this game. I was saying I think we can put up a good fight, but I think the Utah's talent overall is going to get us beat today. And I think what I was telling all my friends and people, like what I saw today was the giant gap in talent between a top 10, 11 team and the current Baylor talent on the field. We can change the scheme, which I like the new scheme. However, getting a new OC is not going to change what the players we have. And it's not a knock against the players. It's just the lack of recruiting the last 2 to 3 years has really hurt this team. And I know everyone was excited about all the 4-star recruits, but those 4-star recruits are not going to make an impact until about 2026 and 2027, if they even come. With the transfer portal, NIL anyways. But that being said, I like the fight in the second half. The first half was inexcusable with just the way we come out. Daquan, it's new. It's a new scheme. He's playing the best he can. He can scramble well. Unfortunately, I think he sits in the pocket a little bit too long and facing that top 11 defense may have been the toughest he's ever seen. Sawyer came in. But I like the fight. I think moving forward, if we keep that fight up, we can get to a bowl game. And I like how the defense stepped up, so that's optimistic for me. But I think the offensive line is just not all of a sudden going to prove this. Our team is what it is. We're going to have to scheme it up some more. I think Travis Hunter in 2 weeks is going to tear us apart and just get pick after pick if wide receivers don't get open. I loved how Josh Cameron just decided, I'm going to get in the end zone and no one's going to stop me. We need more of that, guys. Just someone just take over. Someone's going to have to step up. So we'll see going forward. But I appreciate the call, appreciate the new platform. It kind of was confusing calling in, but y'all keep doing what you're doing and, win the next game. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. You bring me to a point that I wanted to hit on the offense here, since that is the focus today, even though I don't think it probably should be. It will be. Finn didn't throw an interception today. It was just the sack and fumble. He took care of the ball, which I imagine the coaches were beating into him the entire week. Do not turn it over. Do not turn it over. Do not turn it over. He didn't. And he deserves credit for that, right? If he had thrown a couple interceptions, right, then Baylor's not even threatening in the late third quarter or in the fourth quarter. So credit where credit is due. I still think there is a lot of potential for growth within the scheme and growth for this particular group of players. So we'll see what we do there. I do want to take a second to talk about the defense here. Keaton Thomas, couple misreads there, but overall very solid day, 7 tackles. Devin Bobby, 5 solo tackles and a half tackle for loss with Kendrick Simpkins there. We did have a sack from Jackie Marshall and a half sack from Tevin May and Garmin Randolph. So, that defense got better as the day went along. The pass rush got better as the day went along. And, I loved the way that the linebacking core was absolutely swarming. Even before Rising went out. The way that they were playing aggressive. Even the announcers on the broadcast were mentioning how hard they were hitting. I saw something today. I saw something today from that defense, and that is something that can carry you a long way. It really can. As you wait for this offense to polish itself and evolve, that defense that can carry you. All right, we have time for just a couple more, maybe. If we have anybody else on the line, Walker, let's get them in here and let's see what we got. Joe Goodman, my buddy from the Bear Den podcast. Joe, thanks for joining. What are your thoughts on the game today?
Oh man, can we erase the first 25 minutes of the game? Like that would be really cool.
Fortunately, we can't.
We covered, Matt.
Baylor did cover really any spread out there, whether it be 14, 15, 16, 17, whatever you saw, they did cover. Not really what I'm taking solace in right now. I'm taking solace in that defensive performance, and that's it. But
man, I think the defensive performance would have been even better if it wasn't in that stadium. I think they were a bit shell-shocked at the beginning, overthinking things, maybe even a little bit too hyped up. And when they got settled into that game and felt like they could actually play with Utah physically, I think that's what they kind of discovered there about halfway through the game is,
yep,
we are as big and as strong as these guys. Why don't we just try to play that way?
It didn't always work out. There were a number of runs that if it wasn't a 47-yarder from Dawson Pendergrass or, a 6-yarder from Richard Reese, there were more tackles for loss or for no gain.
Oh yeah, I mean more on the defensive side of the ball. Like I think we really realized, especially that front seven.
Definitely.
That was better than any performance we saw defensively last year, I think. And in reality, you're talking about a defense that gave up 10 points today.
Yep. So I'm personally at max willing to attribute maybe 13 of the 17 offensive points scored by Utah today to the defense.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's about it. So
if Rising stays in, maybe that game's probably different, but he wasn't. So we can't judge it based off of that.
Exactly. Joe, anything else for us?
I'm not angry. I'm not any less excited to drive to Waco and watch Air Force next week.
Fair. I think Air Force, allows for it is an opportunity to wash the bad offensive taste out of our mouths and get right, because Air Force didn't do a whole lot against Merrimack last week. They played. I think they might be playing right now, but Air Force isn't exactly setting the world on fire with their new junior quarterback. So we'll give a look at them.
And I think the biggest thing to take away here is, and I don't want to just pump sunshine and rainbows here, but think a year and a half ago, we're sitting there and we're watching Kansas State just absolutely take the soul out of the entire program.
Mm-hmm.
In a night game, the crowd was there, everybody was hyped, and just things started going wrong a little bit at the beginning, and then the bottom completely fell apart. Right, foundationally, the program just collapsed. It felt like that night. This is the polar opposite. You got punched in the mouth hard, and then you stayed in.
And immediately.
And you didn't lay down. There is a cultural shift that has happened with Dave Aranda from 18 to 24 months ago to the Dave Aranda program that exists today. And that's the growth that I wanted to see this year. I think most everybody was like, it's the number 11 team in the country on the road. We're probably losing this game. Don't overreact to just a random week 2 game. We all kind of picked this game as a loss. You played hard. You look like you belong on the same field as them. You got a lot of improvement to do offensively, but this defense is going to play.
Yep. Agreed. Hey, Joe, I appreciate you calling in. We'll talk soon. We'll talk soon, man. Appreciate it. Couple comments before we sign off here. We have a comment from AF Blue 82. I wonder what fan base you belong to. The defensive performance was overstated, he says, against a true freshman QB. Not only referring to the snaps that the true freshman took, but Baylor did what it needed to do against that freshman QB. So I'm completely acknowledging that. Absolutely, 100%. But they still did what they needed to do against that true freshman QB. Cam Rising looked good for the first 2 drives, and Baylor started to tighten a little bit. I'm impressed with this defensive performance no matter what. And David Glover brings up maybe the most important part of today, a 79-yard punt amidst multiple excellent punting outings for Palmer Williams there. Fantastic game. I'm trying to see if there are any numbers here. Yeah, Palmer Williams, 6 punts for 376 yards, average of 62.7, and the long of 79. Pretty good. 2 of those inside the 20, so pretty dang good. We are in familiar Baylor territory. Leaving the show with a shout out to the excellent punting. All right, if there's nothing else, folks, thank you for joining the Sikkim 365 radio post-game show. Utah 23, Baylor 12. DeQuan Finn and Cam Rising both injured. I'm sure more information will be coming out about those individuals soon. Hal Presley also injured. Thoughts and prayers to those guys. Hope they heal up very, very soon. But otherwise, Sikkim Bears. Thanks, y'all.
Quinn with time. Uncorks it. Ashton Hawkins shakes and scores.
This is the Sikkim 365 radio postgame.